The following program is a fan-made review and reaction show. It is in no way affiliated with the movie trivia Schmoedown or Skybound Entertainment.
Welcome in, everybody, to the latest edition of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. This is your Thursday show where we are breaking down the first three matches that we get in the week for the singles tournament. But we have a special guest. I am joined, of course, by my friend and cohort all the way across the sea, Bogz. But we are joined very special. We are very grateful that we are joined this week by the man, the myth, the legend, FRANKIE numbers himself, Mr. JANISCH. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good, guys. Thanks for having me. This first three matches have been interesting, so I'm excited to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, and I guess it was a bit of a return to the schmoes of old a bit this week. You know, we give a little bit of the classics. Starting off the week with Andreyko and Atchity, you know, throwing it way back. I mean, how was that for you, Frank? Bogz, was that,
I mean,
sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, you broke up there.
No. I did. I thought you were having a bit of a connection. Go ahead, Frank.
Okay. Yeah, it was great to see Andreyko back and Matt Atchity. You know, it had been referenced in the match on the broadcast that Atchity has been playing since 2015 on and off. So as much as we give him grief about not knowing the game quite as well, which he did seem to get more up on speed with, you know, he's been around for a while and he's still, you know, kicking around these parts, so it's fun to see, you know, him back, and then obviously Andreyko and all the, I think, passion he has for the game and the love he has for the game, and we haven't seen him outside of that one match earlier this year, so it was great to see, you know, these two guys.
And I love that energy that both of them bring, because it's I like to look at the Schmoedown in phases, much like, you know, the MCU of sorts,
right?
Even the seasons kind of merge, where season 1 and season 2 kind of, you know, are that classic stuff, and then Andreyko kind of comes in with that. He was kind of you know, he was very feared by a lot of you know, competitors when he first came in.
Yeah, him and Bibiani came in at the same time.
That first match was incredible between those two. One of the all-timers for me, of course. Bogz, my dude, how did you sort through this week of, you know, stuff, because they just keep throwing it at us? I mean, last week I just couldn't. I could barely handle last week. I think I needed a full 24 hours of sleep on Sunday after all the schmoedowning we did. How were you on Monday? Were you ready for this match? And did you enjoy it as much as I did?
Yeah, so I think we mentioned it last week that it's like a lifestyle now. Yeah, like I feel like I go to work after I finish work, like quickly eat something, then catch up on SEN or Schmoedown, or I mean, you live that more than most. So honestly, yeah, it's like a everyday. It's like a Schmoedown camp, like summer camp kind of thing. So yeah, it's really full on. But yeah, just obviously watch it in order, then then you got to catch up on social media, then everyone else's stream. So yeah, it's just you kind of enjoying it whilst it lasts, because obviously the further we go into the tournament, obviously we're gonna get less matches a week. So yeah, I just appreciate that kind of one at a time, and yeah, watching everyone go at it.
So let's get into a little bit of, you know, Frank, we're lucky to have you here. So we want to take a moment, you know, how, you know, some of, we would hope that if you're watching our show that you know who this man is. But for those who don't, because, you know, I got some Bogz, I got some friends and stuff that are kind of coming a little later to the Schmoedown. Sure. Explain to the folks at home who you are, what you, you know, contribute on, you know, a weekly basis to this glorious game we love.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I started doing the Schmoedown rundown almost 4 years ago. 4 years ago, doing Schmoedown rundown with Brad Gilmore, and you know, we're kind of like just every other fan show out there, you know, kind of recapping and breaking down the matches, and you know, we have a lot of fun doing it. And also, you know, I've kind of first, I guess, also made my name keeping track of stats for the league, and that's carried on throughout the years. And you know, I put all that stuff up on the website for the Schmoedown, the schmoedownlive.com. You can see all the stats from every year, every division mostly. I'm working on Star Wars, hasn't quite got there yet, but tournaments and brackets and stat breakdowns of years and all that good stuff up there. And so I kind of manage the information on the website in that regard. And then I also kind of manage the new Schmoedown Clips channel. Trivia Schmoedown Quick Clips is the YouTube channel name, so you can go over there and watch clips from matches of past and highlights and live event moments and story beats and all that stuff. So there's a little bit for everyone on that channel, whether in for the trivia, the story, the drama, the laughter, the comedy, all that stuff. Kind of clipped all these moments out from past matches and live events and big events like Collider Collision and Spectacular, Free for All. Put them on that channel in like digestible format. So for new guys that you guys have coming in, send them a clip, 3-minute clip instead of a 40-minute video. Because honestly, that can be kind of daunting to say, hey, I think you would really like this. Now I want you to watch, take 40 minutes out of your day for something they've never seen. But now you can send them maybe a 3 or 5 minute clip, and that piques their interest, and then they go watch the whole match or whatever. So that's kind of like the idea with the Clips channel. And outside of that, kind of little things here and there that that might be asked. So, but that's kind of really the bulk of it, of what I do. And Bogz, you were talking about it's kind of like a lifestyle. Yeah, I mean, I wake up at Schmoedown. I go, I have lunch. I come back at Schmoedown. I go to sleep. I wake up at Schmoedown. Especially this time of year when you're getting 4, 5, 6. Last week we had 7 matches, so it does take up quite a lot of time, especially when you're doing a bunch of different things within the Schmoedown. So it's all a lot of good fun. But I'll be honest, I'll be glad once we're out of the second round, because we're gonna taper off a little bit.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's kind of reminded me of the NBA bubble, and contextually, given everything we have going on in the world, it's nice that we're taking this pause to recognize everything that's going on. But it was nuts. I would wake up at 1 o'clock and I would feel the need to watch basketball. I'd be like, well, I haven't had basketball for a really long time, and now you're giving me 4 games in a day. So yeah, I'm going to do it. And then now Schmoedown, it's every day. We remember it was once a week, once every, what was the old schedule at the beginning of Collider?
Mostly, well, we were doing 2 matches a week. It was like on Tuesdays and Fridays, or Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday and Friday, I think. We were doing we were getting the matches, and then once in a while you would swap. It was teams and singles, and then once in a while you get Inner Geekdom maybe like once or twice a month in place of a teams match, and it was like that for a while. But then 2017, things got really crazy, and we were doing 2 tournaments at once between singles and teams, and it was like we're getting a match every day like this, except we've expanded singles tournament this year, and one match per day basically for about the next few weeks. So it's it's the Schmoedown's come a long way in terms of what we're pumping out on a weekly and now daily basis seemingly.
I remember there was I think somebody did a great Photoshop, and it was it was Mark and Christian on like the top of Netflix. And I just keep picturing like this is the kind of like back catalog though of content that at some point it's gonna explode, and they're gonna look back and be like, wait, how many episodes of how many minutes are each of these? You're doing what? And so here we go.
As I'm going through, I'm picking out clips for the Clips channel. I'm going through all previous 6 seasons and just realizing how much material there is and then also realizing who's also been a really big fixture of Schmoedown with the clips that I keep putting out. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a lot of like Wild Berries, a lot of JTE. There's been a lot of Rocha and Merle and Kalinowski and it's like, wow. I mean, we talk about it all the time that these guys kind of like built the league, and it's true when you look at like just kind of like the memorable moments they're all attached to, and that's I'm kind of finding I'm like, wow, I'm really overloading this channel this week with JTE clips. I think I should probably tone it back and look somewhere else, but these are all moments that have stood out. And when you talk about the back catalog, there's just all of these moments. And eventually, I hope, and the dream is, this thing does explode. And then people go back and watch all these moments and matches. And it's, right now, where I think we're like around 60, close to 70 matches just this year. Now we're only about maybe 3/4 of the way almost, I think. Roughly maybe half, a little over half. So you look at past seasons, we're looking at 100, 120 matches in a season, and not to mention some of the ancillary stuff, preview specials and whatnot. And we used to do ranking specials as well. And you get things like the decision from Clark Wolf. And then there's you go way back to 2014, the trial of JTE, which is, just another classic moment. Things we don't really see that much these days, but fun to revisit. So yeah, there's a ton on the back in the back catalog for Schmoedown.
Bogz, if you had to suggest a clip idea of one of your favorite things, or something to the man, now's the time, Bogz. Now's the time.
Honestly, I do need some recommendations. At first, people were, when the channel first started, I think this or this or this, and I was like, I've already written those down, and so kind of like the obvious ones. But now, since we got the more obvious ones, I need some more of the deep cut. So I really would appreciate some suggestions.
Okay. We'll have a think. But recently this season, I really liked. Me personally, like when I forgot, I think it was Ace against Parker. Just seeing all the kind of guys come up from swag. Different minority, different colors. Different races. We've got Chandru, we've got RB3, we've got Winston, we've got Ace. All coming out together as one. Like I really appreciated that. Just getting people. Some of like Jen's interviews, when people are just getting emotional, the drama, these kind of them moments. But yeah, that was one of my favorite moments of the season, when that moment there. And I just wanted to ask as well, Frank, random question. That
sure.
When Brad kind of hosted was it the Zipper and who did he play?
Paul Preston.
Yeah, Zipper Paul Preston. Yeah. So it was asked, what was your favorite track from the Thriller album? I was wondering, what is yours?
Thriller? Because
Michael's my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. So.
Yeah, no, Mike's, music wise, he's great. Thriller really is that one that I watched it so many times, especially the music videos. Yeah. I think that's kind of the reason. Most of the track list actually does escape my brain, but because is PYT on that one?
Yeah, PYT. There's only like 9 tracks on it. PYT, Billie Jean, Beat It.
Oh, Billie Jean. Shoot, that's right. I don't know why I was blanking with it. Yeah, now it's all coming back. Billie Jean's a good. I do like Billie Jean because that's I think I might go Billie Jean if I'm not going super, predictable Thriller. I might go. That is a great album. Shoot, I really like a lot of his earlier stuff. But yeah,
absolutely. I'd say "Wanna Be Starting Something" if you ever.
Yeah, that's another good one.
I was actually lucky enough to get to play most of that album. My senior year of high school, our jazz band does a collaborative concert with the entire percussion ensemble, the dance company, and we actually had an Asian American student be Michael in the show, and he crushed it. The glove, everything, the lighting. We got to the Thriller portion, so we watched the entire concert back the next day, and we get to the Thriller portion. I'm in the trumpet section. We jump up onto the risers for the hit of Thriller, and we blew out the mics in the back of the arena, or not the arena, whatever, of the state of the arena. It was of the arena. We blew them out. It was awesome.
I just noticed your T-shirt, Colin.
Oh yeah,
you're hiding it.
Good. Very timely.
Let's go. I'm very excited. Even though it's gonna, I've just been buying into all the Jericho hype. Like I'm really fearful of the guy. Like he's ultimately the dude's a competitor, and players play, and that's kind of like I'm concerned of what Kevin Smith is going to show up, because I know there's all the right answers in Kevin Smith's brain. It's just I know recall is not his strong suit, because I watch his weekly show with Mark Bernardin, where Mark constantly gets him in like 5 seconds, like, oh, you're talking about this. Oh, you're talking about this. Oh, you're talking about this.
Fills in the gap.
Right. So we'll see what the recall is. But let's get into it, guys, because there were some great matches this week. I really enjoyed honestly, all of them. There was from top to bottom, there was competition through and through, and it was great seeing, like we talked about at the top of the show, some old schmoes. So, Bogz, let's get into the first one, dude. Break it down, man. What were your thoughts going into that Andreyko Atchity match?
Yeah, so probably thoughts going in. I wanted to see kind of where we're at with Andreyko. Obviously, big things expected. The odd couple haven't really played too much. So yeah, I was looking for him to go into get a big win, to be honest. So to go into the next rounds and later rounds, and potentially the teams tournament with some form, because obviously he's been sitting on the side for a while. So yeah, and I was hoping for him against Maya in the next round. Obviously, it's a big match, right? So I kind of wanted that win. And for Atchity, I just wanted to see him, shake off this kind of negative kind of cloud around him that he's not, the gameplay isn't there, he makes mistakes, this kind of thing. So yeah, that was really all going in. I just wanted to see. I probably did want Andreyko to win just going into that second round, obviously with Maya. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely picked Andreyko as well. He constantly has been a consistent performer, and that's one thing I was looking at in this bracket was consistency and potential. And Andreyko has a unique combination of both. And like you said, it's been a minute since we've seen him. Frank, were you at all surprised at Andreyko's performance and how he was able to maneuver his way around some, getting the cobwebs off?
Yeah, I think with Mark, I think you talk about the consistency. It's certainly there. I think for the most part in the first round, he's always going to score, 7, 8, maybe even a perfect round like he did in this match. So you're going to get that. It's the wheel round where he doesn't have someone to lean on like Jeff Snyder, where he could find himself in a rough spot if he doesn't get a category that he likes. So I was a little trepidatious about that, and it's kind of the same actually with Atchity. Take away him not knowing the game. It's the first round is very simple. So I felt like, given his history, he would put up a decent performance. Second round, is he going to know about the multiple choice, all that stuff? So I was curious about how that would show in the match for him, especially when you get into the third round. How is Atchity going to, be able to weather that type of that round, because he hasn't played in quite a while, at least singles wise. So, with Mark, a lot of talk of him and from himself as well about he's been watching a ton of Schmoedown during quarantine. So I was expecting to see a pretty focused and pretty honed in player. Although when you don't play for a long time, maybe you get a little too antsy and you feel like you're on top of it. But if one thing doesn't go your way, maybe it throws you off. So there's a lot of variables and a lot of questions coming into this match for both of these guys.
And Ben Bateman actually mentioned that on the preview special with your boy Brad, and mentioning that he felt the wheels fall off and there was nothing he can do. And there were things that worked for Mark and him in person that just didn't work digitally. And we're seeing that there are competitors who are made for this digital space, and actually, some things that might be a negative in person are actually a positive here. Like, oh, I don't do well in crowds. Well, that's great. You're by yourself. Or like, I do well in crowds. Well, like, because there are some players who jive off that energy. Ben Bateman, definitely one of those players that feeds off whatever the crowd's throwing at him that night, whether it be boos, whether it be cheers. He bottles it and he uses it. And Riley's always done that as well. Riley's always found that camaraderie all the way going back to the first tournament, where being around all those friends and all that stuff, it just it creates that energy, and it's hard. So what I'm getting to is these players that come in for their first match, it is a bit jarring. So it's kind of one thing to look at with these picks that we're making, who has had the more experience in these matches. It seems like Mark came in with a bit more knowledge in terms of what these players have gone through, mistakes that have been made. And it seemed like he was able to at least, that perfect first round. I've been mentioning this for the last couple of weeks. I'm asking for 6.5 points in the first round. If you get me 6.5, I'm good. Like, I know I can't get a half, but 6.5 statistically, if you can be averaging 6.5, I think you're killing it, and you're probably in that top echelon of players that is flirting around with that perfect round. So Bogz, talk to me about that perfect round, dude. I mean, this guy. Whew.
Yeah, same kind of thing. I mean, it's not just experience, confidence as well, because obviously he's Andreyko is kind of bantering as well with Christian and Marc, quite relaxed, kind of enjoying himself, kind of moving around a lot, like actually in his seat, kind of just having that overall relaxed kind of way of playing. So yeah, just overall solid round, to be honest, from Andreyko, and obviously going well there. Frank, there's another random question. Sorry, I just remembered before I forget. Obviously, you've kind of reached out to a lot of these after shows. The way you've done, and asked to be on. For me, that's so refreshing. Like, I wish kind of other people in the community done that, because sometimes, it can be a bit awkward trying to approach people, or we don't know people's availability. I just wondered why did you do that? Like, it was really refreshing, and it was nice. It was nice, really. Like, someone approach, asking us to be on.
So I love talking about the Schmoedown, and there's a lot of Schmoedown to talk about, these days, right? And on the rundown, we can only do so much because of my schedule and Brad's schedule, and so things, because we had talked about, well, we're gonna get 4 or 5 matches a week. We might, to kind of lessen the length of our shows, because we like to keep it around an hour instead of like doing a 2 hour, 2.5 hour show. Maybe we just do 2 throughout the week, and we'll take some of the matches, and then we'll do some on the back half of the week, to round out the week of shows. But that kind of didn't work out. So, and then with the pay-per-view matches, and those being such huge events and monumental matches and phenomenal matches, it's going to take up a good chunk of the show. And so the past, 2 shows, we kind of have gypped on some of the tournament matches, even though they've been great as well. We've kind of gypped them a little bit in terms of coverage, and that's just kind of the way things have worked out. So, I still have thoughts on these matches that, I want to talk about, not with just Brad, but anybody else.
Okay.
So I put it out there, and I was like, I want to talk about these matches as much as I can. And, this is one, and there's so many after shows now. It's like, I was hoping at least one show would reach out and be like, yeah, we'll have you on. So, thank you again to you guys for having me on. And that's really kind of the reason why I just wanted to talk more with about the Schmoedown, and it's also nice to talk Schmoedown with someone else besides Brad Gilmore. Like, come on, how many times can you talk to Brad Gilmore about the Schmoedown? That's a while.
And the next guest on the Ultimate Schmoedown show.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I really appreciate it, because obviously you guys, like you're saying, are the premium kind of after show. So you haven't really got the time to go through all the 7 matches a week, right? So I definitely understand that.
I mean, even though I'm covering them stat wise and tracking them throughout the week, when it comes to the show aspect, when covering it on the show, just sometimes you just don't have the time. And because Brad's Central Time, so when pay-per-view matches end, it's around 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock, depending, how late the matches go. And so by the time we wrap up the show, it's, midnight, 1 a.m., depending what's going on. So, it gets late for him. So
that's early for me.
Yeah. And it works out good for you.
Yeah, that's early. I wish it finished that time for me. So why don't you take us through round 2, Frank, please, of that match?
Oh, yeah, round 2. But I also wanted to say real quick on Andreyko's round 1. This was his first perfect first round in singles. He's always kind of touched on it or got close to it, but this is his first one in singles. He's done it before in teams. But, in round 2, Andreyko gets spinners, and then he elects to take 80s, which I thought was a good move on his part, given his knowledge. Didn't really work out too well. He picked up 3 points out of 4 questions. So, and then it actually stole a point. Didn't get burned on another on a 2-pointer, which I don't know if it was strategy on his part to not to check down a multiple choice or whatever the case may be. It worked out because actually couldn't couldn't grab it. And Atchity spun directors on the first choice. Felt like it was a good move. I thought it was a good move, actually, given the way he covers the space. But he only picks up 3 points as well. So, and then Draco picked up a steal. A point gets a point back. So, 4-4 in that round. So really no damage done to either side. And it was a very, very interesting round for both of these guys because they're all very knowledgeable, but they were just getting tripped up and going to multiple choice and not capitalizing, especially Atchity there with 2 of those questions. So it was an interesting performance because these guys, I think everyone recognizes they have the knowledge. It's just that sometimes on some days you're just going to get those questions that just aren't in your wheelhouse, that movies that you just haven't seen or haven't seen in a long time and you can't quite pull a question or pull an answer. So it was a really peculiar round because both of these guys have played better in the past. It didn't happen. And it might go to your point about coming into a different format. These guys normally play live in front of people at a desk across from their competitor, and now they're doing it online. And you got to remember, certain aspects of this format now. So maybe that's part of the reason, but nonetheless, they were scrapping in the second round for sure.
And to go back to, just to break down some of the, questions. These were 2 of the, I would say, wisest competitors the Schmoedown has to offer in terms of base knowledge. In terms of like not needing to, there's some things that they wouldn't feel the need to freshen up on him. And Mark feeling so confident going into 80s, I even said, "Oh, he's going to pick 80s" right before he picks 80s, and it felt the same vibe I did on it. But to pull out John Kreese, it's just off the top for some folks. I know a lot of competitors aren't avid Cobra Kai watchers, it might not be coming around. And then round 3, it's just a hard setup, guys. It's just really hard, like to follow. It seemed like there was just a ball stoppers. They talk about ball stoppers in basketball, guys that just stop the game. Felt like both of them kind of had that unintentionally in round 2 box. It just kind of seemed like the momentum stopped for both of them, so it seemed like it was up in the air.
Yeah, we had that incident in round 2 as well where he's asked for the repeat a bit late. Or too late, whether it was a lag or we're not sure.
I think it was in round 1 for Atchity. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, round 1. Yeah,
and it dragged and it messed with him into round 2.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, does he still not know the rules? What's going on here? But he after in his post match interview he did say, that JTE issue did kind of just throw him off, which I did understand because he seemed to kind of get the kind of repeats and JTEs later on. You used them correctly, so I presume that he did. He did kind of brush up on the rules and stuff. So I don't want to go too harsh on him on that. But yeah, like you said, just really tight round 2. And I was just super interested in round 3 to kind of see where it's going. And
real quick on that missed JTE on his part, Atchity's part. I actually like that he was that rattled him, because to me that shows that he's invested, that he really cares. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't get rattled about it. You'd be like, okay, whatever. But for him, it really messed with him. Yeah, it really messed with him, as he said in the post match, and I appreciate that. I really do. And as much guff as he might get for, not 100% knowing the rules, I think it's evident the guy cares, and that's what I want, at least first and foremost, from anybody who steps into this game, and they'll get the rules eventually. And also, look, not everyone plays consistently, so that could be a part of it for someone like Matt Atchity. So I don't want to harp on it too much, but I do I appreciate the fact that it stuck with him for the entire match. Unfortunately, that happened for him, but at the same time, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
definitely a positive to pull from it, because if you're a manager like Sam, you're gonna say to be like, oh, I can work with that. Yeah, that's something I can work with. That's somebody I am might be actively looking for a partner, and that's something that managers are looking for right now, because it's getting down to that time where the players got to show their managers what they're worth, because managers got a very tough decision coming up at the end of the year. And I was just like, round 3 was just so, I could tell it got to Atchity. You could just tell the first question is just rattled completely. It was like, I just couldn't quite pull. I mean, dance for some people, all of them are 5-pointers. If we're if we're not talking the Step Up movies.
Well, Colin, didn't we speak about Save the Last Dance like 2 weeks ago? We said because obviously we had a question about Honey, didn't they? And then we mentioned, Honey, Save the Last Dance, You Got Served. They all came around at the same time, like the early 2000s. So, and it came like 2 weeks later.
To any question writers that might be watching this show, apparently pulling random dance movies that we mentioned, Dazed and Confused questions. There's some deep cut Dazed and Confused questions we could start throwing at folks. Somebody challenged me to the Iron Man Dazed and Confused match, because I'm pretty sure I have the script like down pat memory. But I mean, you like to see that he nails the 5-pointer. I think that's the two things, if you want to take out of this match for Atchity, that he pulls the 5-pointer, and you can tell that he really, really cares. You easily could have just checked out. We've seen it before. We've actually seen it from Andreyko's partner. We've seen it from Jeff Snyder. We've just seen him completely check out of matches before, so it's nothing new. But for Matt to show respect to the game like he did, to finish it out strong, and I mean, for Jimmy Fallon to what a T-ball, question, to just tee him up and just send him home. And for Andreyko just to round out that first match. And Bogz, any final thoughts before we move on to the second match? Because I know we got a couple of things.
Just really on the back of what Frank was saying, I felt that emotion aspect after round 3 of just how disappointed he was for not getting kind of them pulls in round 3. In Atchity's post-match interview, he was like almost pulling his hair out, so disappointed in himself. And I like that. I like that emotion, that passion, because like you're saying, Colin, we can work with that, or Sam can work with that. I remember as well, I did find it interesting that Sam has obviously Whitney Seibold, Alonso Duralde, and Atchity, all guys that have had history with rules in the past. I just thought, is this like a little side project that he's trying to kind of work on? Obviously, Duralde done excellent with the with his performance against the kid, but and obviously actually done well as well. Obviously did lose the match, but I just thought, is this like a little side project that he kind of can see the potential of these guys? So obviously that's the reason for his drafting them. But yeah, I just found that interesting afterwards. But yeah, I love the passion from Atchity.
Well, there was a whole lot of something in the next match, but I just got Tom versus Tim. Tam versus Tim. Oh my goodness gracious. I don't know what we saw, but it was trivia and questions were asked and things were done on screen. So we could try to break this down, but I think the vibe of this is really what is so unique to this match, because the fact that these guys, I'm pretty sure they missed the same questions. And then they were 6-6 coming out of round 1. I mean, so these guys are on the same level, mentally it seems like, and they're both playing their own game. The level of foolery that Tom is able to achieve while performing the way he does. I mean, Frank, have you ever seen anything like this? A combination of talent plus like wacko.
Yeah, it's I think we've seen flashes of it from someone like Kalinowski, where he can get on a run and he's still in the character aspect. Obviously we'll get to that match with Kalinowski, but there's not a whole lot of players. I mean, there's only really been like flashes in the pan where it's the perfect combination of top level play and the brilliance of character work. Obviously one of the crowning achievement of that, or the most notable of them all, is Andrew Guy versus Dan Murrell. I mean, it was perfect character play with top level trivia, and it made for one of the most entertaining matches and upsets of all time. And it was a TKO, and not a lot of TKOs are noteworthy, but this one, that one was. This match with Tom, I mean, it was interesting. I didn't know how this character was going to work separate from Video Drew, or separate from another teammate like Paul. So it was interesting, how it worked out, and it worked really well. I think it really even furthered the mystique of Tom and really kind of opened him up a little bit more, but still kept that character as we know him. So I think, and it worked on all fronts throughout this entire match.
I love that I kind of feel like it doesn't work if Kate's not there, because I feel like the route has to go like if it's just Grace, like Tom is definitely like on some leash. Like literally Tom's on a leash doing some weird like Channing Tatum at the end of This Is the End stuff. Just like some weird creature from the Black Lagoon. And he's out here. Bogz, could you keep a level head like that? Like, do you like, I'm just trying to like capture the brain power that truly has to be at play here.
Yeah, well, I thought Tim did really well. Like,
of course, both of them. Yeah, both of them.
No, to be honest, I find it all really funny. Like,
that hair's a treat.
He's eating his foot. He's saying it smells in here. Like, it's just every single time I laugh. Like, any time he attempted it, and even just his run. His hands just but I do like the way he answers questions though, because although he takes his time, which seems to be a character thing, but I think it can help with the gameplay because he's literally taking his time answering a question. You're not rushing something. You're not blurting something out. He's just taking that extra second or two, which I do like. I think that is a tactical element to it as well as a character thing. So I did really like that. And like you're saying, really equal round two, really equal players. I thought, it's whoever kind of whoever missed the most with these. Obviously, it sounds obvious, but the biggest kind of point in the match, kind of for the first half of the match, was the hook question that they missed. And it seemed it seemed like a really straightforward thing for me. I mean, I'm of that generation, but that just seemed to be the difference in the match where it was just there were just a point here or there, and just if someone just got that point there, it would it'd swing kind of in there with their momentum. But yeah, we never got it.
And that's one thing about this about the way that Tom was playing that I loved was as his opponent. You're anticipating something. You could kind of tell, like even like you're almost as much on the on the edge of your seat as the viewers are to see like, well, what's this guy gonna do next? Even when he's answering questions, and some players talk about just completely shutting down, all the kind of things we've heard, everything from Rocha saying that he's gotten into like beats, like binary beats going in his head to calm down, stuff like that. But Tom has somehow found it in the character, and that's really unique. I think we haven't really seen much like that. A lot of the characters usually are out and, kind of riling people up or kind of getting them agitated, but Tom's kind of a different animal. So it's interesting to see that different kind of mental warfare, because we talk about that all the time. Bogz loves to talk about it with Chandru. Like, he comes in and it is mental. There's more to the game than just trivia, and to see it in a new way is really, really refreshing. But Tim is like coming out here and really it holds his own the entire match. Like, we just say, let me get to the 5. You get to the 5, you get the respect. Tim made it to the 5, you got the respect. Like that's it, it makes it to the end. So Frank, was there anything about either of their performances that really stuck with you after the match?
That stuck with me in a new way? No, I think I got what I pretty much expected, that we're going to get solid play from both of these guys in the first and second round. And as it does so often with players, we have exceptional base knowledge, because both of these guys do. Tim really does. He knows a lot, and I don't know if a lot of the fan base recognizes that, but it is there. And I think him missing the same type of questions as Tom in that first round, I think might help lend that to the audience in a way. He got a spinner's choice and he went James Bond. It's kind of predictable if you know Tim Franco, right? Huge Bond guy. Christian talked about he was in the exhibition match too. So you're looking to see him go perfect, if not nearly perfect, which he did. But, and then get into that final round though for Tim. Sometimes, things like the match, every single match is like this. There's just things that are going to come up that can wipe you out. And, eventually, and we did see that a little bit last year with Tom. He missed a 3-pointer at one point in a team's match. He's missed here or there. At some times you think that, otherwise he would be correct on. So these moments can creep in. It's just a matter of when they do. What's the timing? And for Tim, it was bad timing as he missed, a two that I thought, he wants back. I think he had two people in his mind, Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke, and he probably flipped a coin and one of those 50-50 things that burned him. But, to miss out on your 5 is not uncommon, right? It's just, can you avoid having to be that person that has to answer a 5? And that's what it comes down to when you have high-level players like this. So it's a shame that Tim's run started and ends with Tom, but because I think had he been matched up with really almost anybody else, he probably could have at least got a win, maybe 2. But when you're going up against Tom, who is ranked the way that he is because he hasn't played in singles, it makes sense. But at the same time, you also know what you're getting in a player like Tom because of his run in singles last year and how dominant he was through the first round specifically. And you could guess back and forth whether or not how much he contributed or how much he was carrying the weight in that second round. But the guy's good nonetheless, and his character plays throughout. It's not a break in between, like some other characters where they're in and out of it. Tom is in it through the whole time, and I think Bogz, I think you're right. I think it does play into his game aspect in terms of taking his time and getting those answers right. I think it really does. It's a perfect mesh for him, and it seems to be working. So can't argue with the results here.
He had the line of the week too. He's like, "You're going up against Jader, the Hurricane. Like,
yeah.
How are you going to get that into a room?" It's classic. That is if he is able to move for even into the Elite 8 of this tournament, I mean, that's a legendary like I am here moment.
By the way,
and I'm ready to play.
Did you know? So all those names like Final Four, Elite 8, Sweet 16, those are all trademark. Those are all trademark.
I know.
You can't use them. Can't use them. So I came up with different ones. I think for the 18, it was the Savage 16, and then for Elite 8, I have was it the Extreme 8, or maybe that's, I don't know. And like the 4 was Fatal 4, but like I know it's up on the website. I forget which ones I picked, but I don't want to put those on the site because we're with Skybound. And it's like, so I did like double check. I was like, dang, they trademarked all of these things. I'm like, just take all the fun, NCAA. But anyways.
NCAA strikes again. Once again, taking money from babies, like candy from babies. I mean, this was one of my favorite matches of the whole tournament, just in terms of everything that it offered. And
Definitely.
hey, you got to just give it up for both of these guys, because in terms of it was a pick 'em for me. I had a really hard time choosing between this match. I ended up going with Tom just because I'm a fan of Tom. Sometimes you just got to go with it. But Bogz, this next match, because I know we're getting short on time. This next match, dude, unbelievable. And our producer Mike with the Kobe shot called this upset. Unbelievable. Mike Kalinowski versus Scary Perri Nemiroff. It is the return of the Nemiroff herself. I always called her the Nemermoff. I know she was Moff Nemiroff. She was Grand Moff, but she's the Nemermoff.
Yeah.
And so she's coming in. I've never been more legitimately like scared of the potential of somebody coming back to the Schmoedown after what I saw yesterday. That was truly one of the most, like, in terms of what Perri was going up against, that was a David versus Goliath moment. That was like, in terms of, you just watched, like, if you just like, hey, I'm going to watch a match before my match, probably would have watched the Corruption versus Founding Fathers match. That's probably what I would have watched. And Mike looked a little beatable at some points in that match, and at other points looked completely untouchable. So if you didn't know what Mike you were going to get, I don't even think Mike knows which Mike is going to show up on a game-to-game basis, unless it's Inner Geekdom. Unless it's Inner Geekdom, you know exactly which Mike is showing up. Unless he, faces the the son that he created. You know, there's nothing you can do about what Chance did to him. Bogz, before this match, were you? I would assume you picked Kalinowski to win this match.
Of course. I mean, our producer, I saw his bracket. And I said, "You're tripping." And no, obviously, I'm the one that's tripping. Like, no, I was super impressed. Like, obviously, I did want Mike to win because I want to see the head-to-head with Corruption, with Swag, with the Founding Fathers go in kind of to the later rounds of the tournament and just the league standings and all that. So I did want him to win for that purpose. But I'll just give a quick kind of my overall thoughts on the match. But yeah, just obviously stellar first round from Mike. I was just missing the one question. Perri I thought she's too far behind. Is she potentially going to get knocked out here? Because I saw in round 2, I didn't see all the slices, but I saw Spinner's Choice. And I've seen comic book movies, and I've seen Bond. I thought, oh, okay, surely he's going to get one of these. And when he landed on, obviously, new releases, I thought, oh, he's in trouble. He's in trouble because I know, obviously, from, that's her job, right, to report on new releases. And yeah, she's gone stellar in that round. Obviously, Mike's only got, I think, 4 points. She's breezed through the monster movies round. Super impressive.
After spinning away from it.
Yeah.
I'm making dinner in the kitchen. She spins monster movies. I look at my girlfriend and I go, oh, she's going to keep monster movies and she's going to run train through this category. And then Coy does the thing that he does now where he's like, do you fear more on the wheel than what you have? He's going back and forth doing the coach thing.
I love their communication. I love it. I wasn't too impressed. We spoke about this separately, Colin, but I wasn't too impressed with Coy's management style at the start of the season. But now, kind of the more he's basically getting camera time, like the more I can see he's so involved with his players and in the mindset and the choices that he makes. So I really love that. And just giving them the right pep talks at the right times. And yeah, obviously going into she's breezed through that round 2, and then going into that round 3 when she's pulled that Home Alone question, I was super impressed. I saw Mike get a little bit deflated at the end of round 2. That's when kind of Shannon give him his pep talk before round 3, and I didn't have a good feeling there. I just thought, yeah, he's going to go down. And just that the Mike's 3-pointer about the Wreck-It Ralph question. It was an MCU character. I thought, oh, he's got this. It's an MCU character. He's obviously studying Pixar with Chance, and he missed it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so it's obviously gone down to the super half 5. But
it's not Pixar.
It isn't.
It's
yeah.
not
Pixar.
True.
It is straight up Disney
Animation Studios.
True. He did say that afterwards as well. But yeah, just a lot of ebbs and flows in the match, and just a lot of things didn't go Kalinowski's way. And I think that's what it takes, from a kind of newer player. Or obviously, I know Perri's not new, but making a debut in the tournament against a higher ranked player, an A player, that they're gonna have to have an off day.
She's competitive as hell too,
and she earned it, man. She earned it. Yeah, I was obviously a bit gutted for Mike. Kind of admitting he's kind of done the wrong choice. Obviously, that's hindsight, but yeah, super impressed with Perri and where she's going next because she's got a lot of strong slices. So yeah, just my overall thoughts.
Frank, anything to add to that before we get your thoughts on the what we got coming up on Friday?
Yeah, Kalinowski jumping out to a 7-4 lead. I thought, hey,
it's over. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, hey, great start. I mean, that's the start that Mike needs. He needs these jump starts to propel him through the rest of the match. Second round, first landing on Pixar, I go, yeah, there's that Chance element, but he's not Chance and with that category. And so I was like, yeah, I would spin again too. And then he lands on new release, and you go, well, Perri covers these movies.
Yeah, everyone thought the same thing
all the time, and it's 12 to 18 months. Yeah, Perri's gonna know almost any movie you throw out there. Whether or not she knows the answer is another question. But she's probably gonna have heard of the movie and gonna have a rough idea at the very, very least of where to go and manage your way through perhaps a multiple choice scenario. So and that round doesn't really go that well for Mike, obviously, 4 points. I mean, he did limit the damage in a sense that he only allowed 1 steal, and that's just great play, strategic game on his part. For Perri, spinning away from monsters, I thought was interesting. I was like, I think it's close enough to the horror type of genre and thriller, and so I was like, and that's where she, her specialty lies mostly. I go, I think that would be an okay category to take. I wasn't mad that she spun again, but landing on it again and then doing what she did in Monsters in that category. She got a perfect storm here in the second round to go her way. And once you're able to erase a 3-point deficit against, mind you, the current, as going into this match, Kalinowski was ranked number 4. This is a guy who passed up a shot a number one contender shot, right? He let Andrew Guy walk into that, which we're going to get to. And so now you're faced with the possibility of elimination because there's Mike definitely did not take Perri lightly. He knew that she would be tough competition, but when you're up 7-4, you got to capitalize on that. You can't let someone creep in like Perri get back into the game, because now, for all intents and purposes, it's going to come down to the 5-pointer. It's a 3-question match at that point, and you never know what you're going to get in those 3 questions. And when you're up against Perri, who definitely knows her stuff, I can definitely see why Shannon had to give him that pep talk. And it was a great pep talk, a great inspirational thing. But again, it's just a perfect storm that went Perri's way. And when that happens, as a player, you have to take advantage of those moments. And she got a favorable 2 and 3 in her wheelhouse that she was able to capitalize, and it ultimately sealed the deal on Mike, because Mike missed on Disney and got a tough Meryl Streep question. I mean, he almost was working through it and almost got there, but it was a tough 5-pointer, which was gettable, which I think probably doesn't sit as well with Mike, because he's like, I probably could have got there eventually, maybe, but sometimes that's the way it goes, and I don't want to say he's the new Mark Riley, but man, at least for this round, he was. I mean, that's a little harsh, but hey, at least he's got
a bit of a letdown. A bit of a letdown. I love to make the comparison to the NCAA tournament when we're talking about the points here, because when you do your bracket for the NCAA tournament, you have the possible points. So like the more teams you have left in that you pick correctly, the more possible points that you have. So if we were looking at possible points for corruption, that number just dropped. Significantly of what it could have been if we're going to look at the decision that he could have made. And
it's against a faction that's surging right now. So that Quirky Mercs is picking up some points. I don't know if they're going to be able to quite close the gap to make it really contentious, but they might make it interesting.
They're definitely making moves with Shazam.
Yeah.
Shazam's making moves. Shazam boosts every single match that Shazam wins. That's free points that which they shouldn't even have needed. If we're talking like Shazam is the first team who's had to go through all of this to defend the belts. They keep mentioning that they have
to play for the belts. Yeah,
right. They're going to prove it. They're going to keep proving it, and it's good for the Mercs. Oh boy! But guys, Friday we are in for a treat. The undercard for one of the greatest full-on events we've ever had in the Schmoedown. Ben Bateman versus Andrew Guy 2. I don't know what we're talking about character. What I saw on the preview special was a guy who was in complete control of everything that's going on up here, regardless of what he may be portraying. I think we're in for one of those. Talk about what he did against Dan. He's never had a more vulnerable Ben Bateman. Ben Bateman is hurting right now, and he did not adjust well to this new reality that we're in, and that was noticeable. But Frank, are you leaning like a certain way? Is there something that you've seen from either of these guys that make you think?
So you do bring up the point that Bateman is still reeling from the Who's the Boss Shazam match, sure, but he's played now, and it's from. I think he knows what he's up against. I think he's still confident over Andrew Guy. I think when he did lose to him, I think he felt like it was probably a fluke. That family match, right, where Andrew Guy busted out Drew McQueen at the last minute, and Bateman's playing with, of all people, Tom Dagnino. So it's like, come on, really? I would have beat you, without. I could have beaten you with somebody else other than Dagnino. So I think he's still. And he knows Andrew Guy very well. So I think he knows how to prepare exactly for Andrew Guy. And that's where he gets a lot of his confidence from when going to these matches. Not not just his knowledge, but he knows how to prepare for specific people. He knows how to strategize against specific people. And Andrew Guy might be the easiest person, perhaps, for him to strategize against. But it might be also the hardest to implement because you don't know what Andrew Guy is. Everything you do know about Andrew Guy might just be a little bit different on match day because Andrew Guy can go through these swings, whether he's top tier or not so great. And you don't know where he's going to lie. And maybe mentally you get trapped and you're like, well, maybe he's on the down end, maybe he's on the downswing. And maybe that seeps into your mind. So it's a very interesting matchup regardless. But I am going to lean Ben Bateman because he is a former singles champ. He has played Andrew Guy very well in the past, win and lose. So, will Andrew Guy make it interesting? I think so. One way or the other, he's going to make it interesting for everything we've seen this past week.
Take us to the 5-pointer, Andrew. That's all Ben can say. Bogz, we got a whole pregame show for us to get into this match. So Friday night, 1 hour before the main event, which is going to be topped off with Chris Jericho versus Kevin Smith. They keep saying the biggest match we've ever had in the Schmoedown. I just can't wait. True entertainment. We might just have to throw the trivia cards out for that night. I'm not here for the trivia. I'm just here for the entertainment.
Yeah.
Frank, did you ever think this was like 4 years ago, writing all this stuff? Did you see something as big as Chris Jericho, Kevin Smith coming in a match like this?
Not really, but there has over the years there has been time where I thought we're gonna get someone big, and not to say that like Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sam Whitmore, like those guys weren't big. There's definitely big personalities to get, but to get someone like Chris Jericho, the wrestling aspect, which the Schmoedown pulls from, to get someone like Kevin Smith, who is just this icon of nerddom. And geekdom, Comic-Con, all that stuff and things that a lot of our community gravitates towards. They have him, which, obviously is a big part of the Schmoedown into this match. To get those two types of players representing both of the aspects that the Schmoedown strives to put together and put out as a whole product. This honestly, look, if the Schmoedown never got The Rock, it'd be huge. Like massive, right? But I don't know that you could pair him up unless he went up against Kevin Smith, because really Kevin Smith or another director of note, maybe an Edgar Wright or a Quentin Tarantino or Rian Johnson, someone like that, huge names. But for what our community is and what it represents, these two, I don't think there's two guys that we could have gotten at this stage in the game that represent everything that the Schmoedown is trying to embody. And I'm just looking forward to the entertainment value as well. I think the trivia aspect will be there. I think no one wants to walk into this and embarrass themselves. This guy, Kevin might seem like the most humble guy in the world, but there is an ego there. Jericho, yes, he is a wrestler, so there's an ego there, but I think he's also humble in knowing that he's going up against a guy in Kevin Smith who knows movies, who makes movies, and who knows the history. So I think they're going to come in pretty well prepared, given their managers, Roxy and Coy. They're going to come in there knowing the rules, having a firm grasp on the game as well as they can, because they are busy guys, sure. It's going to be one hell of a match, and I just cannot wait for the spectacle. I cannot wait to be wowed by a question that we'll all be surprised that they know. I'm looking forward to those types of moments, and Friday is just going to be one hell of an event, the biggest event in the Schmoedown's history.
And that's, I can't wait. I've been waiting for something this big. I didn't even know something this big was possible. If it's just content with the people that I think are celebrities on YouTube, watch it, playing trivia. The fact that these two provide the biggest opportunity in both spaces, because we attract from both of those corners of, the internet, fandom, wrestling and nerddom is all in one. And for both of them to give us to give the Schmoedown this exposure, it's just incredible. We're going to see, this is just the beginning. Season 7, we'll be talking about this. In season 15, we'll be talking about, remember that match? It'll be amazing. But Bogz, any final thoughts, any final questions for our man Frank before we clock out here?
No, just thank you so much for coming on, man. Please don't be a stranger moving forward. Anytime you want to come on and kind of let your thoughts out about the Schmoedown. I know you don't have too much time sometimes on the rundown, but yeah, anytime, honestly, come on, man. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And we do have one more member of our crew, the great John Barr, out there slugging it in the streets of Los Angeles, getting people what they need. He has some thoughts on this week's matches. So before we head out, John, take it away.
Hey everyone, it's me, John. Unfortunately not able to be on the show again this week, live with the boys, just due to a couple of very legitimate reasons, not because I'm, trying to capture Lon Harris, not because I'm writing more Don Harris lore, not because I'm trying to convince my boss at the Beverly Cinema to put more money into contraptions for security measures, also while juggling a secret forbidden romance with his daughter. None of that. Just normal things is why I'm not on the show this week. But because I can't be with Colin, Bogz, and Mina in studio, and because I'm recording this on National Dog Day, I'm here with my other podcast partner, Peanut the dog. Peanut. Useful input as ever, kid. Thank you. So the first match to talk about was Marc Andreyko versus Matt Atchity. A match that was very interesting to watch momentum-wise, not necessarily in the best ways, though. Certainly round one was really solid. Marc Andreyko getting a perfect round plus a bonus question. Atchity not quite getting that. But this was a solid first round, and then it wasn't a solid second round. Marc Andreyko had a really tough time with 80s, which, especially considering that was Spinner's choice, is really rough. And then Matt Atchity, spinning director, sticking with it, also had a really tough time with that as well. Like, Christian spent a lot of time talking about how these are two of the most knowledgeable players in the game, and I don't disagree, but if you showed people this match while saying that, I don't think anyone would believe you. This was pretty rough performance-wise from Marc and Matt Atchity, and I know Marc really wants to be good at singles right now because he's specifically trying to get at Ben, but I think he watched Ben's Who's the Boss performance against Shazam and took the wrong lessons about how to match Ben. But that said, Marc was then able to turn it around in his third round, getting that fever pitch 2-pointer, which was all he needed to hit because Matt missed both his 2 and 3-pointer. But, he could have very easily just lost it and kind of tapped out when Atchity did hit his 5-pointer, but he didn't. He stuck with it. I was not super surprised by this. This was, I think, of the 3 matches, the only one I got right on my bracket. Spoilers. But, yeah, not my favorite match of the week or of the tournament, but not a bad match, just a little uneven. Who's your favorite faction, Peanut? You a fan of the Droogs? You a fan of the Mercs? You a fan of corruption? Gosh, Peanut, you are such a fence sitter. My goodness. The next match to talk about is Tim Franco versus Tom. This was a lot of people's, one of at least their most anticipated matches of the tournament, myself included. I was really looking forward to this. These are two dudes that I think are, especially now in this newer era and kind of looking at the singles tournament, I do think they were starting to get pretty well rated. But these are two guys that definitely, looking at this match, you can tell they may not be as flashy as Dan Murrell, John Rocha, Ben Bateman, any member of the Finstock Exchange, I guess. But these guys really know their stuff. This was a much more solid back and forth match. And I really dug that, man. I dug it. Coming out of the first round even, 6-6. Then a 1-point lead by Tim Franco coming out of round 2. Tom got Julia Roberts, got 6 out of a possible 10 points, and Tim Franco did not steal any points from him, so that was good. But then Tim Franco spun James Bond Spinner's Choice. I swear, the James Bond slice has got to be enchanted or something. Because I feel like for the most part, whenever Mike and Tam are playing in singles specifically, and anytime they put James Bond on the wheel, 9 times out of 10, it seems like James Bond is coming up in their favor. I know FRANKIE NUMBAHZ is on the show this week, so maybe he can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know why I said it like that. Thank you for being on the show, Franklin. So it's definitely pretty even coming out of round 2. And then round 3, truly back and forth, but Tim Franco got put on the ropes early in this round 3 without being able to get that boyhood 2-pointer, which was just the little edge that Tom needed because, Tom's going back and forth even with, round 3 starting at a loss and managed to get just that 1-point victory over Tim Franco. Really solid match. One that I was looking forward to and one that really didn't disappoint. I guess I should have mentioned also the Andreyko Atchity match. The Rockstars went up 3 points. It didn't change standing as far as the actual faction rankings go. But the Den, with this win by Tom, they actually moved up to number 4 in the faction rankings, above the Quirky Mercs, who they actually beat in this match. Isn't that fun? How that works? This is also one of those matches where I guess that's kind of the easiest to explain to someone. Where it's like, you see how this team beat that team, and now they're above that team? That's how math works. Peanut, do you know math? What's 2 plus 2? God, why did I pay for dog arithmetic school, honestly? Anyway, my big takeaway is that these guys are just both solid singles competitors. We haven't seen Tom at all in singles before now, and Tim Franco we'd only seen in one singles match before today. But, obviously they've both had good records in teams, and now it's exciting to see them both shine a little bit more on their own, as they deserve to do, especially since Tom was a number 1 draft pick for the Den, and he didn't have a great match with Tom and Paul against Deep 13. It's good to see him putting in some work now. Way to go. But then speaking of the Quirky Mercs, we jump to the third match that we've gotten so far this week, because there's still more to come. Mike Kalinowski versus Perri Nemiroff. Now, I like Mike. I'll say it. I enjoy Mike, and Mike is a powerhouse of a player. I really thought he was going to take this. Man, I'm not alone in that, I don't think. Obviously, no offense to Perri Nemiroff, but I think a lot of people were more excited to see Perri back in the game, not so much necessarily thinking she would be able to get that upset win over Kalinowski. I mean, Kalinowski is now the current team's champion alongside Chance. He went all the way through the Intergeekdom tournament and only lost to Chance Ellison. I mean, I thought there was a good chance that he'd be able to make it into the quarterfinals, at least, if not the semifinals. But now that didn't happen. Very clearly, Perri has been, working with Coy and the rest of the Mercs. I do think that they really could have used this win. Obviously, Brendan Meyer and Bibiani are both still in the tournament. But with Tim Franco getting taken out of the first round as well, doesn't hurt to have 3 people in there. This loss is actually kind of big for Corruption, not just because it may or may not hurt the spirit of Mike Kalinowski, but also considering that Adam Collins is going to be going up against John Rocha and Marisol McKee is going to be going up against Paulo Yama, 2 former champions, 2 of the better people that are playing right now. There's a high chance they're going to get knocked out after this. And considering now that Mike is out of the tournament too, I mean, we love Chance on this show, but Chance is really going to have some work cut out for him, not just generally in who he's facing, but now it seems like truly having to put the whole dang faction on his shoulders. I do not envy Chance. Quirks are looking real good, and Perri really had a solid match. Obviously, coming out round 1, it didn't look that way. It was 7-4 in Kalinowski's favor. Kalinowski only missing the us question, whereas Perri had a couple more misses. And then going into round 2, it was really interesting because, Mike spun away from Pixar, got new releases, which he really didn't seem super comfortable with, which is fair. I mean, obviously, as Shannon pointed out, it's hard to tell exactly what you're going to get in new releases when we have just been inside this whole time. There haven't really been a lot of new releases. Like, what are they going to do? Ask him questions about the second season of Glitch Techs? No. They should, but they won't. Christian won't respond to my letters. But Kalinowski only got 4 out of 8 possible points, and Perri was able to get a 1-point steal off of him as well with that Black Christmas question. That was big. That was important. Because then Perri spun monster movies, and she spun away from it, and then got it again, and she really wasn't feeling good about it. And then she got 6 out of 8 possible points. My goodness. I don't know if she was going with some Ben Bateman tier mind games with Mike, but she really was coming out of round 2 looking great, because even after a pretty relatively big deficit coming out of round 1, she had tied the game back up at the end of round 2. And that, again, credit is due to Coy. Perri in her postgame was talking about how Coy and some of the other Mercs were kind of talking her through how, like, don't get discouraged about a point differential going out of round one. There is that element of strategy, whether or not it always helps to kind of keep that mental math in mind, distracting you from movie knowledge. It's certainly helpful for the spirit. And then Perri got her 2-pointer and got her 3-pointer, which Mike got his 2-pointer as well. But then Mike missed both of his 3-pointer and 5-pointer questions. Both tough ones, to be sure. When thinking about Ralph Breaks the Internet, the only character I could think of was Danny Fernandez, friend of the show, sort of. I think she's cool, and that makes her a friend, I guess. And then Meryl Streep, the 5-pointer, I didn't have that either. I wouldn't have been able to pull it. As much as we all love the category Meryl Streep, I don't think everyone necessarily studies that category, and that certainly seemed to be true of Mike, who got in his head, and Perri was able to get the win. It was huge, This was kind of one of those matches where, at least personally, I was watching it going in if Perri loses, that's kind of what she was supposed to do. If she wins, that's going to be great, but I don't think that's going to happen. And then it happened. And then she did it. And it was awesome. I was excited to see Perri back in the game generally, but now that she was able to get an upset win like this over Mike, I think that's just absolutely great. It's not great for my bracket. That one's a bummer. But if the other part of my bracket is right and we're getting to see Perri versus Video Drew, that's going to be so fun. I'm excited for it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the 3 matches. Peanut, do you have anything, just anything to add? This is why we don't get sponsor deals. You know that, right?
John, I might come steal your dog. That is a very adorable dog. Please keep it fed and safe. So that'll do it for this episode of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. Frank, just like Bogz expressed, thank you so much for coming on, man. We're big fans. We've been hearing, every time you hear, Christian say somebody's name, you hear about way back when. I've always known Frank is the dude. He's got the stats. Anytime I need the stats, I know right where to go. Like you always kept the standard there. Every time I needed it to get a little more nerdy, anytime I needed that little bit of like, wait, what was the passer rating here? Anytime I'm trying to get like that nerdy, because I'm a big fantasy football guy too as well. So it's like all the fantasy aspects of it as well really speak to me. So all that stuff you do, man, just thank you. And
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Folks, that'll do it. This is Thursday's episode. So you're going to get this. But tomorrow we got the pregame show. Be there, be square. 1 hour before the link goes live, we'll break down everything. Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy too, and then we'll break down everything involved with Jericho and Kevin Smith. So, folks, that'll do it. And thanks for joining us on this episode of the Ultimate Schmoedown Show. Follow us at TUSS Pod everywhere on all that stuff. Facebook group, the Outlaw Nation, all that stuff. That'll do it, folks. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next time.